Right, before start checklist is performed down to the line, and now we need to do the pushback flow. So we obtain the pushback and startup clearance, which we have. We need to talk to the ground crew, so let's do that now. Alright, so the pushback man, there he is. He's going to disappear under the nose and do his thing. So he's do his thing.
(983) Delta approaching Valencia. Confirm we're clear to the arrival.
Yes, there he is.
983 Delta, arrival Valencia to Lima. Valencia to Lima, Thompson 983 Delta. On 983 Delta, descend flight level 210. Descend flight level 210, Thompson 983 Delta.
Okay, so he's ready for us. So windows and doors check closed, beacon on, and thrust levers are idle, and then the before start checklist down to the line. Before start checklist below the line. So that's windows, doors, beacon on, thrust levers idle, parking brake is off. And then let's set the chrono. You can see we've got the nose wheel steering disconnect button, which shows that he's put the bypass pin in, which is kind of nice. Alright, so now we're ready to start the engine. So it says engine mode selector to ignition start. We wait for the crosses to disappear, and we wait for the engine PSI to get up, so you can hear the packs will turn themselves off, and we're ready for the engine start. So let's click it. You can see the arming slides caption. So now on the doors page we should see the slides go to armed. Let's go back to engine, and the FCOM says N2 increases, corresponding start valve in line, bleed pressure indication green, oil pressure increases. We get an indication of the igniter, and you can see we've got igniter A on this one, just above where it says 36, which is there. There's an A and a B igniter, and 22% N2. We should see the fuel flow increase, and the big click, and then when it says avail, that means the engine start is complete. So let's do engine number 1. And let's watch that process in a little bit more detail. So it said N2 increases, which we can see. There you go, there's the N2. Start valve in line. Bleed pressure indication green, so that's along the bottom, 36. Indication of the igniter, that's igniter B. And at 22% N2, which has been and gone, fuel flow increases. And then 15 seconds after the fuel, we should see the EGT increase, which we have, the N1 increase, which it is, and at 50% N2, which has just been, the start valve cross line goes across, and the lighter indication goes off, and we see avail. So that means that the engine start is complete. So let's set the parking brake, otherwise he'll start whinging at me, and he's going to come along and he's going to disconnect the tow bar. So while he's doing that, we can do the after start flow. So that is those to normal, that is arming the speed brake, predictive wind shear on, flap set to 1, TCAS to auto, and in fact I'm going to set that to TA, and we'll put it on TARA when we get on the runway. Press the takeoff config button, set those to max, APU bleed off, wait 5 seconds, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, master switch off, and that's everything set down here.
4, llame Barcelona en 12665, hasta luego. 12665, hasta luego, gracias.
Okay, so after start checks then. So anti-ice is not required. Ecam status, we just hit recall for a few seconds, is normal. Pitch trim we need to set, and we can set that from the perf page. Okay, so we are looking for 0.8 up. So let me zoom back out and then change that. In fact, I need the flight control page to do that. So 0.8. And then let's do the control checks. So full right. And we need to see the controls go up into the corner, up into the little square. It was full right, full left, neutral, full back, full forward, neutral, and then the rudder, right, left, neutral. Okay. And then after a few seconds the flight control page will disappear. Anytime you waggle the flight controls, the flight control page will appear. So in a moment that will disappear. And if I waggle any of the controls again, then it will appear. Okay, so we'll do the before takeoff checklist once we get on the hold line. Now let me turn on. We'll have the VOR. And I don't think we've got an ADF tune, so I'll just turn the VORs on the other side. I'm going to close his, and I'm just going to just dim down his light a little bit for the takeoff. I'm just going to dim mine down a little bit as well. And I'm going to dim down the floodlight. There you go. Sort this out. There you go. That looks good. It's quite hard to see these backlights at night. There you go. Right. Okay. So we're ready for taxi. So it says taxi clearance obtained. Nose light turn on. Check the indication is 0 when you turn the park brake off, and then start the elapsed time. So we've already set the timer for the block, so that's fine. Okay, so taxi light, taxi, there you go. And it's night, so I'll turn off the runway turn off lights as well, help us find where we're going. Right, let's have a look at the chart and see where we're going. So it's basically going to be Whiskey 2. I'll go down to Whiskey Gate. So it's Whiskey 2, Gate Delta, and then November all the way down to Hotel 8 for 1-2. That's the plan. Alright, taxi lights on. Park brake off. Check indicators at 0, which they are. And then it says idle thrust not more than 40%. So, a little bit of thrust. Okay. Let's go to Ibiza. Back to the island. Lovely scenery of Valencia. It's really, really good, this one. Really, really good scenery. I can strongly recommend it. And it's quite nice as well because you're right on the coast of Spain. You know, you can get yourself to Mallorca pretty quickly, and Ibiza and other places. Also comes with some static AI as well, which is really nicely made. Which not all static AI is. Some of it's a bit rubbish. Okay, now if I was cleverer, then I would do the before takeoff checklist during the roll, but I'm not. I'm just going to concentrate on driving the aeroplane for now. So good frame so far. As you can see, we've got everything up and running now, and we're still getting around 30 frames a second, which is nice. Nice and smooth, no problems there, kind of looking around. It's all looking pretty good. Okay, I'll just pull power off a little bit. So let's go down, let's go across here on gate Charlie. So let's make that turn. There we go. Probably went to that turn a little bit too fast. I'm pretty sure if one of my Airbus guys was here, they'd be shouting at me now going, that was too fast, that was too fast. Okay, now the trick with the taxi is to run up to about 30 knots. And then one long tap of the brakes is what you want to do. You don't want to drag the brakes, you don't want to keep touching them. You just want you want to get up, get fast, 30 knots maximum, and then one big tap of the brakes is the best for the brake wear, apparently.
Contact Barcelona 120.535, goodbye. Barcelona, el nuestro 3539. Adelante. Sí, me comenta que es de 310-370. Me han notificado de 320 hasta 370.
In the aeroplane, the way that you keep the center line in the middle is to keep it between the ND and the PFD. What I find in the sim, sometimes a little bit easier to actually keep the center line in the middle of the PFD, but it doesn't really matter. Right, okay, so we're coming up to the thing. Let's give the brakes a good shove. Just get us down to walking speed. And I'm just going to pull us up onto the hold position, which is about there, and park and brake on. Right, so it says the before takeoff checklist. So the flight controls checked, flight instruments checked, briefing is confirmed, flap setting is config 1, V1 31, 31, 32. And we're flexing to 35. ATC is set, so put that onto TARA. Alright, that's fine. And it says TA only, and that'll change in the air to TARA. So that's all good. Econ memo is takeoff with no blue. That is the before checklist down to the line, and then below the line cabin crew. So give them a ding. Engine mode selector, we can leave it in normal because there's no ice or slush or standing water. And we'll also do a packs off takeoff as well, so you should hear the packs disappear and go down in volume. Nose, turn the strobes to on, and that should be everything. Okay, that's the before takeoff checklist down to the line completed. Right, let's line up. Park and brake off. As you can see, we've got the SIS warning, and that's because the pack 1 and 2 is off, which is what we've asked it to do. Okay, let's line up. So a little bit of power. We don't want to try and turn the aeroplane until it's moving.
Calling 4237, muy buenas, identified, flying flight level 250, confirm it's process final. Confirm 0135, let's confirm when it's process to the level 6. Calling 1054, for your information, expect moderate turbulence during your flight. Okay, 1054. Calling 1054, contact Barcelona 120.535, goodbye. Barcelona, aeronáutica 3539.
Okay, just gently brake on the centre line. Okay, now we're just waiting for the takeoff clearance. Okay, so we're clear for takeoff. Now, if you're wondering why my PFD says GPS primary at the bottom, it's because we loaded up from the taxi from a save scenario. So I kind of saved the scenario, shut down a sim, went and had a sandwich, and then came back and then loaded it up. When you reload it, it will say GPS primary. So once you press that and clear it, then that should clear and all will be well. Right, okay, so let's get underway then. We're clear for takeoff. All the lights are set. All we're going to do now is set the terrain on my side. I'm going to set the weather radar on Matey's side, and I'm going to hit the chrono. I'm going to stand them up to 50%. Lots of things to remember on the takeoff roll. Easy to forget many of them, so we want to make sure we get a little bit of forward stick in. So let's do that now. A bit of forward stick. Push the thrust levers up to the flex detent, which is there. Steer it back onto the centre line. There you go. Okay, that's looking good. Got to remember to call out 100 knots. Relax the forward pressure. Keep it straight. And V1, rotate. Okay. Smooth rotation. Follow the SRS director, which is there. Alright, that looks pretty nice. Positive climb, gear up, and I'm not going to attempt to hand fly this. Let's get the autopilot in. Anytime over 100 feet you can put the autopilot in, and let's have a look at what we're seeing here. So we're climbing up in flex, and the next thing that will happen will be thrust reduction. We set that, if you remember, for 1,000 feet above field level, so there it is. Bring the thrust levers back to the climb detent, nice and slow, because it can sometimes frighten the passengers. They think that the engines have quit if you slam them back. Okay, the aeroplane's not happy because the packs are off, so let's turn the packs back on, and that should make that clear, which it did. And then keep an eye on the S-speed, which we're at now, so call flap 0. Flap 0. Flaps are travelling up towards 250 knots now, and we're making the turn. So that's all looking good. Okay, right, after takeoff flow then. So let's disarm the speed brake. Let's turn the runway turn-off lights off, the taxi light to off. We won't ding the cabin crew until we've been cleared to an altitude, which we haven't yet. Okay, so he's cleared us to flight level 70. So let's go to 70. And let's pull standard and standard. And then a few other things that we can do is get some lights on in here so we can see what we're doing. You want the flight deck nice and bright for the pushback, so the pushback guy can see you, so you can wave at him. And then you want it really as dim as you can get it for the takeoff, so that you can get your night vision. Alright, the FO wants to start the crossword, so we'll pull out his table, and he wants his footrest down as well, so there you go. I'll click on that for him and give him the his footrest. Okay, so let's have a look at what's going on here. We are thrust climb to flight level 70, that's in blue. And we're following the nav course. So the aeroplane is going to start a turn. And it will go into speed mode and alt star. Alt star means I've got the altitude. I know you want to level off at 70, so I'm ready for that. And you'll see all the VORs now. It's auto-tuning Ibiza, IBA. And it's turning right now onto the course. And the auto thrust is coming back to maintain the speed. And we'll level at 70. Okay, so he's asked us to turn left for traffic to 090. So dial it in, pull, and the aeroplane should turn left. And now he's asked us to expedite climb to 110. Okay, so in the Airbus, we can't do a managed climb now. So if I push on the button, nothing happens because we're on a heading. The aeroplane will only do a managed climb or managed descent when it's in nav mode. And now we're on a heading, so it won't do it. So how we do this is we pull for open climb. And you'll see the auto thrust will go back up. So it says thrust climb, open climb to 110 in blue. And probably a good idea now to zoom out a little bit. Probably could turn the terrain off now as well because we're well above any terrain, but I'll just keep it on because it's quite nice to look at. I will dim it down a little bit. And you can actually see, if I zoom out a bit more, you should be able to see coast of Spain behind us, which is there. And there's Ibiza just off to the left. As I zoom out a little bit more, then you should be able to see a fair bit of the Med. So that's, I think, Mallorca, and this is Ibiza here. Okay, so we're climbing up an open climb up to 110, and at 10,000 we'll turn off the seatbelt signs and we'll turn off the landing lights. There are some airlines, a well-known orange airline, they like you to turn all the lights off once you're in the climb because they hang out in the airflow and they do use a little bit of fuel. So there you go. Okay, so it's an alt star. Now watch what happens once it's in alt lock. So in other words, once it's ready to capture off, watch what happens if I spin up the altitude to, say, flight level 150. It then goes into vertical speed, and you get the triple click. Now the triple click is Airbus language for there's been a change in the mode, because it automatically changed the mode for me. So it's just drawing attention to the fact that there's been a mode change, which is quite nice. If you're used to the dash, which will just kill you, this is rather nice. Right, we can probably put some dome lights on now. Yeah, there you go, that'll do. And so lights are off, and seatbelt signs can come off. Okay, and he wants us to turn right 120 and then own navigation. So he wants us to go back onto the track. So we go to direct, and we're going to go to Odson. So direct to Odson, insert. The aeroplane will go automatically back into nav mode. This is a little Airbus gotcha. If you ask it to go direct in the McDo, it will indeed go direct. It will also keep the heading in the window, and I think that disappears after a little while. If you click it, it will disappear. Alright, so let's have a look where we are. So we're in speed mode, and we're climbing VS. Now we don't want to do this because we're back on the track, so we can either go to an open climb, pull the knob, and the aeroplane will now go into an open climb all the way to 15 or flight level 150, or I can press it and go into a managed climb. Different airlines do it different ways. The FCOM says if you're in nav, then you use a managed mode. If you're on a heading, then you use open. My understanding is that BA like to use open climb and open descent all the time. Other airlines do it slightly differently. Again, once we get into the Airline2Sim training course for this, I will have all the answers. Alright, so we're level at 150. It's gone to alt star. And let's keep the climb going. I think we said 190, didn't we? Let me just check what we had. So the init page, yeah, 190. Okay, let's push it. Okay, now you can see we ain't got very long, because that is where we're going to level off in the climb, and that is where we're going to come down. So we don't have very long. So now what we need to do is start getting what they call the box ready for the arrival. So let's start thinking about that now. So I'm just going to pop my map light on, and the FO is doing the same thing while he's having a look at his charts. Alright, so while we climb up to 190, you guys can have a look out the window. Okay, so we're level now at 190. Now, as you can see, the aeroplane's actually slowing down, and that's quite interesting. What that means is that the cruise speed, this down low where we are at 190, it's actually lower than the climb speed, which is interesting. You don't normally see that, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's as a result of the fact that we've got a pretty low level off. We wouldn't normally be cruising at this low in A320. Right, we haven't got long, so let's very quickly jump into the performance page and let's get this information in. So it's 1013 on the ground. The temperature is 28. Wow, it's hot. I'm looking forward to heading off to the beach. 210. Oops. 210 at 10. Then the MDA here, it's going to be a Cat 1, we're Cat's the aeroplane, and we're 330. Landing config is full, and then the go around is set to I think 1500 feet above the aerodrome. We're normally using 1000, but I could change that, but that doesn't matter. I'm not planning on going around if I can help it, so we'll leave that on the descent page for the time being. Okay. So, as you can see, the aeroplane wants to go down. It's saying decelerate. So what we need to do is get it lower, because we're going to get pretty high on the profile otherwise. So we've been cleared down to flight level 90. So let's do a managed descent. And as we're pretty high on the profile, let's get the speed brakes out. Now, pretty sure on the A320 we can pull the speed brakes back to full. I know on a 737 you can't, because you can shake the tail off if you do that, but I'm pretty sure on the A320 we can go for full speed brakes. We're going to bring ourselves down to flight level 90, and we're seeing idle, and the speed's coming down. Now, the way that it works in the A320 is we have a speed parameters here, so the aeroplane will speed itself up or slow itself down to get it on the path. Now, at the moment we are quite considerably above the path, as you can see, so it should keep us nearer the top of this range. So 270, and it looks like we're actually speeding up a little bit, so that's kind of what I would, yeah, there you go, that's what I would expect to see, because it will want to go as fast as it can to get us down onto the path. And we can actually see we're going to level off at 90, where the blue line is, and the pink circle, the pink dot, the magenta dot, is where we're going to pass through 10,000 feet. So that's the point at which we need to throw the seatbelt signs and the lights back on. Let's have a quick look at the RadNav page while we're down here. We've got Ibiza tuned, we've got the ILS tuned 1095 and 242, that's all correct. The aeroplane tuned that manually. The other thing that we could tune ourselves is the IZA, which is the NDB here at Ibiza. So let's throw that in, and that's pretty much all we need for the approach. So I'm going to change that to ADF, so that, there you go, we've got the green, that's already pointing to the ADF. The airfield is actually over there, you can actually see it already. We're going to come around here in a loop. And So no weather out here at all. It's a completely cav okay night, so there's no weather at all. So one thing I'm going to do, because it's easy to leave it on, is I'm just going to turn the weather radar off, because that's one less thing to switch off on the ground. So we don't need it tonight. There's not a drop of rain for hundreds of miles tonight in the Med. It's nice and warm. I mean, we're still, what, 13,000 feet in the air, and it's still 16 degrees outside. So, well, that's a total air temperature. It's a little bit different to the actual outside air temperature, but let's not get into that. Speed brake is extended. You can see we've got the speed brake extend caution. We're now coming down onto the path, so that's looking pretty good. And what we'll expect to see is the aeroplane will level out, and if we continue to leave the speed brake out and it's now accelerating to stay on the path, it will come up with a caution and it will tell me the speed brake's out. So I don't want it to do that, so let's pull the speed brake in. Okay, so we're through 10,000, and let's turn the lights on. Let's turn the seatbelt signs on. And we are continue to descent to flight level 70, so let's just keep coming down. And he wants us to turn left to 080. So left to 080, you can see there's a change in the mode to 600 feet down. So what we'll do is we'll just pull an open descent and let the aeroplane just bring itself down as it feels the need. Got a constraint check so we can see the constraints that we've got to be, and that tallies up with the McDo. So Ibiza 12, which is around the corner here at 2200. Okay, so leveling off 7,000. We've got Outstar, and he wants us to continue the descent now down to 4,000 feet. So let's pull open descent. Let's get the barometer in, which is 1013, and 1013 on standby as well. Okay, 1013 once, twice, three times. So with three transition down to 4,000 open descent, 4,000 blue. That all looks good, right? So probably a good chance now to do the approach briefing. So the briefing is confirmed. So it's going to be an ILS. We're going to get vectored around to Bebes, and then down through the ILS. So good opportunity now to press the ILS button so we can see what we're doing. ECAM status is checked. Hit recall, hold it down, that's normal. Seatbelts are on. The baro is set 1013, 1013, 1013. MDA is set to 330, and the engine mode selector is on norm. Whoops, is on norm. Not crank, it doesn't need to be on crank. And the final thing is the landing checklist, which we don't need to do yet, so that's all good. Right, let's have a look and see where we need to be. So at Bebes, they want us to be 4,000 feet or above. That's what the chart says, so we're looking pretty good for that. So he's saying right turn now to 110. Still in managed speed at the moment, and we can happily leave the airplane in managed speed for the time being. Okay, we're just passing through the, you see the pink dot, that's the, that is the VNAV descent path, if you like, and a right turn again to 150. And finally, right to 190.
Radar on the side of this Russia for 1724, 310 in Valencia. Outside the 1724, moving out to identify descent of flight level 260. Descent level 260, Russia for 1724.
Descend 2,500. Okay, open descent to 2,500. And as you can see now, the aeroplane is going to put the thrust levers to idle and is now going to descend down. So, okay, right to 220.
Pilot 260, 983 down.
There's the localizer.
Ryanair 7062, can you confirm frequency 12452? Ryanair 7062, 124, decimal 750.
Okay, so we're 20 miles out. We are outstar, coming down pretty fast really. I probably could have used vertical speed to do that, because that was a pretty small descent from 4,000 to 2,500. But we've got lock star, and we're heading towards the initial fix, which is the 12-mile point.
2,500.
Okay, that's the radio altimeter alive. Runways in sight. Clear for the ILS, so let's hit approach, and he wants us to descend to 2,000 feet. So I'm going to do this in VS, just a nice gentle descent. And what we'll see happen next, as we pass over the D point, we'll see the aeroplane begin to slow itself down. So at the moment it's 250 knots. It will start to slow itself down. So we're flying over the D now. There you go. So the approach phase is now activated.
2,000.
And when we're below the two little brown dash marks, we can extend. Config 1. I'll select auto brake low. That should be plenty. It does stop pretty smartly with flaps with auto brake medium. Okay, flaps 1 please. So flaps 1 is coming down, and then we're going to continue to slow. And then once we're through the second set of brown dashes, which the arrow is just coming up to now, we'll go to config 2. Okay, there's config 2. And then the aeroplane will just continue to slow down now. So we are 11 miles out. It's just going to keep slowing back to 140 knots. So that's fine. I'm quite happy to let it do that. We're still pretty new to the aeroplane. So let's get configured early then. So let's get the gear. And let's go to flap 3. We've armed the approach. And let's go to flaps 4. Okay, so we've done everything quite early really. Probably a little bit earlier than you want to do in the real aeroplane. Fully configured at 10 miles, but we're new. We don't want to rush things. We want to make sure we've done everything properly. So one final thing, let's arm the spoiler. Let's turn the floodlight down a little bit. Let us turn the dome light to, sorry, from dim to off. The nose light can come on, runway turn off lights can come on, and ding the seatbelt sign. And then we've intercepted the glide slope, so that's all good. Last thing to do is to run the landing checklist. So the cabin crew advised the auto thrust is on speed, and the ECAM memo is on landing with no blue. So you can see we've got landing gear down, signs on, spoilers armed, flaps full. Alright, we've gone through the platform altitude. Now the go around here is basically straight on to 3,000 feet. So let's put the go around altitude in. That's 3,000. Tell the FO to stow his tray, as he's a naughty boy otherwise. Okay, we're looking pretty good. Right, all we're going to do is get it on the ground. Alright, so we're coming down quite nicely. We've got the IZA ADF, which is in green, which you can see is just dancing around at the top of the display. We're on the speed. Everything's looking quite nice. Now the other thing that I should do is arm the second autopilot. You should do that when you press approach. One of the many, many things to remember when you're landing. Okay, now we're not going to do an auto land here because this is not an auto land equipped runway. It's a Cat 1 runway, so we can't do an auto land here, even if we wanted to. So I need to take the autopilot out by the MDA. It says 1,000 feet. Helpfully, this runway, Ibiza X Evolution, the pappies vanish at about 1,000 feet, which is, as you can see, they've disappeared. So that's really helpful. So, hey, thanks for that, Airsoft. All right, so we're coming down, looking quite nice. 800 feet. Let's get the autopilot out. And let's get her on the ground. So, autopilot out. We get the master warn. We get the clicks. That means a change in status. And all we're going to do is just keep it coming down. It's very, very easy to hand fly. Very, very easy to hand fly.
500.
Now, I haven't got any pappies here, which is really not very helpful. So I'm just going to have to eyeball this.
100 above.
Okay, that's 100 above decision. I have a feeling the glide slope might be bringing me in a little bit deep as well. So I'm going to just duck under the glide slope a little bit. Let the minimum, so we're landing. We're happy. Yeah, that's... Okay.
200.
So one hand on the thrust levers now, getting ready to close them. A little bit of turbulence there
100.
on final approach. Pappies would be really useful at this point. So now we're just feeling for the touchdown zone.
40.
And
30.
keep it coming down, keep it coming down.
20.
20. Retard
10.
the thrust levers, let it
5.
settle on. There we go. Nose down. Reverse. Green. Decel. We've got rollout enunciated, which is good. So 80 knots. Reverse can come out. And then good push on the brakes. That should disconnect the auto brakes, which it has. Keep it straight. And then we just got to get it off the runway. Okay. I'll stow the speed brakes and the flaps on the brakes. One big push. There you go. Bring us down to walking pace. And then there we go. Okay. A little bit of power, not too much. Less than 40%. Around we go. Okay, don't touch anything yet. Nothing is more important than not driving off the side of the taxiway, as my real pilot team tell me constantly. So push on the brakes. Around the corner we go. Overshoot the taxiway a little bit because it is quite narrow. Alright. So I'm going to slow us right down just so we are barely moving, and then I'm just going to make sure we've done everything here. So let's turn that off. Let's turn that to TA. Let's turn off the ILS. Naughty. First officer left his footrest down. We can turn the landing lights off. We can turn the strobes to off. And we'll start the APU. So 3, 2, 1, start. And we can turn the VORs and ADS to off and turn the terrain display off. And that'll do so now. Okay, right, let's go and find a gate. Let's go and head to the beaches. We're in Ibiza, right? And it's night time and it's warm. So that's where we should be going, right?
¿Y habría alguna posibilidad de 390? Nuestro 2539-390 estaré con Madrid ya en 10 minutillos. Ryder 062, standing by for Nissan.
This is Airsoft Ibiza Evolution, in case you're wondering what the scenery is. It's nice, nice scenery. quite as nice as Valencia. That is one of the nicest European sceneries I've seen in a long time. So there we go, guys. That's the first flight in the... you heard a little click there. That's the APU available. First flight in the Flight Sim Labs A320, and it's very, very nice. It's a very impressive aeroplane, and there's an awful lot to know. There is an awful lot to know about the Airbus. You know, when it's modelled to this level of complexity, you know, you really, really don't appreciate just how much there is to know until you try and learn it all. Okay, I'm going to stop us here, and then, because I'm a good boy and I don't want to blind the marshaller, turn that to off, and then I'm going to call it the marshaller. So gate 29 we're going to, which is just at the end of the apron, and we should be able to see all of the gubbins. Probably would turn off the runway turn-off lights once you're in the apron area, and then you turn off the taxi light when you're on the turn, but it can be quite hard to taxi and do the lights at the same time, so I've just done everything now. Pretty sure they'll see us coming. Okay, there's 27, 28, 29, where are you? Ah, there you go. There he is. So, get it in the middle of the screen, and then hard over. Nice if we can make him dance. So I've got a marshaller and a... I wonder who we pay attention to. Do we pay attention to it, or do we pay attention to him? Okay, and stop. Okay, so park brake on. And first thing we do is the APU bleed on the dome so we can see what we're doing. And then engine 1, engine 2, and then it's going to be the after shutdown flow. So pumps off, seatbelt signs off, beacon off, the engines are pretty much stopped. Again, it can be a thing you get shouted at if you turn the light off too quickly before they've actually shut down, then you can be in a bit of trouble. So, but we're okay. So 1, 2, 3, that's all shut down. Constraint, flight director's off. Put that onto standby, and we can speak to the ground guy and we can get some ground controls connected. So external controls, GPU, we definitely need some ground AC and get the chocks in. Let's start getting the doors open as well. So open, 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 open. Okay, cool. So let's do the parking checklist. Okay, so parking checklist then. APU bleed is on. The engines are off, seatbelt signs are off, external lights are set. Fuel pumps are off, and the parking brake is on. The external power is available, so we'll do that. Turn the APU bleed off, and then turn the master switch off. Alright, cool. And then securing the aircraft, ADRs, and then the oxygen if it's the last flight of the day. Emergency exit lights, so we're going to turn those to off. And then the no smoking needs to come off. And then the APU and the battery, so I'll leave that be. Don't need to touch that one because it's all going to go very dark. Okay, we've got the chocks in, so we can turn the park brake to off, and the brakes are pretty hot. So we've got I think over 300 degrees, so over 300 degrees you turn it on. So there you go. Thank you for joining us for the this quick and dirty look at the Flight Sim Labs A320. Oh, one thing I forgot to do was stop the chrono when we pulled onto the stand and stop the other one as well. Yeah, there you go, my bad. Or you can hear the brake fans now through the window pretty loudly, and it's been a lot of fun. So thank you so much for joining us on this quick and dirty look. This is by no means a training program to show you how to fly the A320. I am but a novice. We will have the full A320 training course available for the Flight Sim Labs A320 in due course. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. Bye bye.